Okay, hello, loves. Welcome back. This past year has been so fascinating to watch unfold. I feel like it seems like we're split up into these different categories when it comes to things happening in the world. Some seem to be on social media all day, ranting with anger. Some are avoiding the world topics like the plague. We're seeing that as well. So they're on the complete other end. And then you have those people who are standing in courage, strength, and asking important questions that when things aren't making sense. They're speaking with truth, love, and light. And so today, I'm so honored to have this authentic convo with my two beautiful guests. They're a mom and daughter duo, owners of one of the top bakeries in the world, hosts of the podcast Cupcakes and Consciousness. So welcome Kelly Childs and Erinn Weatherbie. Hello, dears.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so excited to talk to you two today. So Kelly, first off, I've listened to several of your messages for both of you on your podcast, and I know you were on the Vibrational Revelations, which was super cool to see that episode of you. I've also seen you on social media. And Kelly, I feel like I'm looking in a mirror when I listen to you, specifically when I hear your messages. There was a word that you used that I only have heard myself use with people I know, and it's the word wonky. I'm like, who else uses that word? I love it. I love that she says that word. And then Erinn, my dear, we have a she's almost 24-year-old daughter, and I feel like you just have such similar energy to her. And I was so inspired by watching the two of you and your relationship and your energy together. And then you said something else in your Vibrational Revelations that was so hilarious to me, Kelly, because you said to Erinn that you feel like maybe she's been your mom in another life. Mm-hmm. And I have told Alex that before. I'm like, there's no question you've been my mom in another life. So because
when we can look at them that way, interchange the roles, right? And I think that's it's a beautiful way to sort of zoom out in life and not take things so exactly the way that we're perceiving life to be. No, like let's look at all the possibilities of our relationships and the people that are in current life.
I love it. And also like, not like, hey, I'm your mom and I'm the one that knows and I'm smart and you're a kid. It's like, there have been so many times where I've turned to Alex and been like, what do I do here? Like, I don't know what to do here. So I need to call you in to help me out here. But really,
yeah, I've done the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like working together as well too, it's that relationship has just gotten strengthened. And also I think like the lines have gotten blurred a little bit more, right? Of like, who's the mom, who's the daughter, we're business partners too. So there's extra layers on top of it all.
Yeah. Is that hard for you to call her Kelly? Or you just used to it?
Honestly, I just naturally, and I feel like I've done it a lot. Like even before we started working together, Mom, I feel like I've called you Kelly just a lot. And maybe it's just, again, because our lines have always just been so fluid and so blurred, I guess, that I don't think we have a normal mom and daughter relationship. I see my mom as just a beautiful human being, and obviously my best friend too, and just such an incredible woman and somebody I look up to. So a mom, she's an amazing mother, but I don't see her as that to me all the time.
I think that you use both, you use them interchangeably depending on the meetings and different things, like high level meeting, like you're not going to call me mom in front of people, because that then it becomes kind of personal. It's like, then I know for sure I'm Kelly, and you just kind of evolve, and you get spoken to as to how you should be perceiving, or other people should be perceiving our relationship. So it's been a fascinating dance that we've gone through, definitely. And when we met you, Jen, if you want to say that, like serendipitously through the Vibrational Revelations, it was it was so cool. I mean, I've been working with Alejandro for golly, like since November, and they did my numbers back in November. And then, we had, persevered and persevered. And then when they did Erinn's numbers, and I went, okay, great. I'm sure I'm never going to attain that level of enlightenment. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I'm joking. And so, I really wanted to hire them on to do some coaching and stuff. So it was a great experience for me. And then that's when we met you then, really, Jen, for the first time. I mean, obviously digitally online, and you witnessed Alejandro and Elena, revealing who we are. I'm going to say quite intimately too at that point, right? That we're going, yeah, oh my God, that's how Kelly thinks of her finances and health and all that stuff and personal growth and everything. And I wanted to do that with them because it's kind of who I am more than Erinn is. I'm just an open book. I'm here to help people and share all my trials and tribulations, times I've fallen on my face, the times I dusted my knees back off again, but I got back up and persevered again. And I just believe that this is my inherent duty to the planet too, to help people from the things that I have faltered with and then grown from, because like that's what we should all be doing for one another, is how can we help one another ascend and become the greatest version of ourselves. And I don't want people to suffer the way that I did in my certain things that happened to me in my life. I don't want them to feel that. So I just feel very, very driven to create as much joy and passion for people.
Wow, I love that so much. So what you're talking about, which a lot of people might be saying, what is she talking about? Vibrational revelations. I actually interviewed Alejandro and Elena for my podcast as well, and that episode hasn't been released yet. By the time this one's released, it will have been. So if people don't understand what we're talking about, go back and watch that episode with them, because you'll understand what that all means, which is so fascinating. I love their work so much. It's so cool.
Yes,
so I want you guys
amazing.
to tell us a little bit about, tell us a little bit about your business and just what you guys do.
Yeah, for sure. So we are in the Great White North. So we're up in Canada. We're in Burlington, Ontario. So just about 40 minutes west of Toronto. And we have a gluten-free, vegan, peanut-free bake shop, and it's called Kelly's Bake Shop. And we've been here for just the better part of almost 9 years now. And we have people drive from all over North America to come to our business. Obviously a little bit different now with COVID and borders being closed and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we have people drive for, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, even cross the US, coming into Canada borders for a dozen cupcakes and turning around and driving home. So we've created a pretty awesome brand that we're very proud of. And yeah, it's been a wild ride these past 9 years.
Wow.
It
So
really has.
how in the world, because I was looking at all of your amazing yummy treats, how in the world are they all gluten and vegan? That is so awesome. I wish you guys lived close to me, because we have a son with a dairy allergy, and I would be definitely coming over to your place a lot.
Right.
And how do you look like this is what I wonder. How is this happening? That's amazing.
I mean, we definitely eat our stuff all the time. Obviously, some more than others, but we always say that we're the healthier option, right? So all of our cupcakes and brownies and cookies, they have garbanzo bean and fava bean flours as like the main flour bases. So they're really rich in fiber and protein, and we don't use a lot of starches or like rice flours and stuff that can be a little bit less nutrient dense. But yeah, everything's quite healthy for you. We put sweet potato purees in some of our products, bananas and apple sauces and like some really beautiful, wholesome, natural ingredients, and our customers love it. So
I love that. Kelly, did you read The Sneaky Chef and then sneak that stuff into Erinn's food? Do you know what that is?
Yeah,
The
I've heard
Sneaky
of it.
Chef?
Yeah, it's I mean, for growing up, yes, Erinn was, she was my guinea pig, I guess you'd call it. But I've always lived a healthy lifestyle. My parents were like, big advocates for that. No white flour in the house, no white sugar in the house. We ate I'm going to say as a kid, it was like really gross food because all of my friends were like, eating their junk and chocolate chip cookies and Diet Coke, or not Diet Coke, rather Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Diet Coke wasn't even out back then. And it wasn't even invented. So, I was like this, I call it a very deprived child because, I was, you're surrounded by it, but you're kind of exiled because you were this natural kid. But I think it really paid off. And when Erinn, was born, then, and growing up, she definitely was given, the healthiest of healthiest. You'd open up our fridge door and it was like a rainbow colored of all the vegetables and stuff that were in the fridge, and her friends would go, so like, but what is there really to eat? They would come over after school and they would go, okay, so what is this stuff? And from almond milk to all that stuff, they just had no idea what it was. But there was times too, I had them cooking in the kitchen and stuff with me and doing sleepovers and stuff, and they had to eat something. So we were able to give them the gift of some very healthy and just learning about organic foods and organic salads and stuff. And it was for me it was like a gift that I could give to the kids. I'm sure that there was some really cool seeds planted in their childhood from us from coming to the Kelly and Erinn household.
I love that. That's so important for kids to learn about what's in their food and to learn how to cook. I have 4 kids, and
Wow.
my what I say is before every one of them leave the nest, they need to know how to cook and bake and prepare food, and they need to know how to read labels and look at what's in their food. I actually, we're going to get into more of the stuff that's happening in the world, but because of all of this, we started homeschooling. So our kids are home with us, and part of our homeschooling is really, really teaching them about food. Like the other day, we went to the grocery store and I had them reading labels of like, which one is a better option out of these 2, which one's a better option, right? And really thinking about what are we putting into our bodies. So that's why, to me, when I see your yummy, delicious food, I'm all about those food swaps, because, if you're trying to be too far over on one side where you're like, no sugar, no, sweets, then that's not fun. That's not ideal. But when you can make a delicious, amazing treat that is a better, healthier option for you, I love it. I'm buying your cookbook immediately after this.
Great. Awesome.
So cool.
Yeah. And then we're just gonna have to open up a location in Utah as well.
Yeah, come on, ladies.
Yeah.
It would be a good state to be in for sure.
I said you might want to move on over here right now. We'll talk more about that. But another thing I noticed, so I love cupcakes and consciousness. I love that together, where you're talking about things that really matter, but it's also fun. I love to me, that's what the 2 of you embody, is talking about things that matter, having a strong, powerful message, but also enjoying life and having fun and beaming light. I know you were a single mom for a while, Kelly.
Yes.
Which that's another thing I can relate to you on. I was a single mom for 6 years.
Wow.
And I loved, during your interview, you talked about how you were looking for validation outside of yourself, looking for that love, and then Erinn, you're a pillar of love for your mama. But I work with a lot of single moms, and I want to just hear some of your wisdom. Like, what did you learn during your journey when you were looking for love? What do you feel like was so important for you to learn on your journey when you were looking for that validation outside of yourself?
That's a good question. So, it's because there were a lot of I call it the dark night of the souls, when I was giving myself away to wrong relationships and the wrong validation, and things even today that I have journals. Like I literally have, I'm going to say 4 legal size boxes of all of my journals I've kept for Erinn. I know is going to think I'm nuts, but because I've never revisited them again, but I'm sure I could write a whole memoir about all these things. But there's these moments in time where it was so dark and so painful. And I would look at Erinn and I would just say, like, how can I even be a mom to you? How can I even be this person that is meant to lead you when I feel so broken? Because I had disconnected. I had lost my soul connection. I had lost that, the deep knowing that you are love, and the deep knowing that you are one with the universe and with God, and with, you know, whatever heavenly divine body that you want to call it. I had separated from that, and you know, through that, when Erinn was 5 years old, when my father had dropped dead very suddenly, and Erinn was actually with him when it happened, and that was a big turning point for me. That was like the wake up call that I needed, but I still didn't know that I needed it yet. But that was the catalyst for me not to have this guy in my life that was, you know, that I needed to always connect with. Like, he was always like the person who would never acknowledge me, and you know, it was very hard to get any kind of praise from him. And then when he passed away so suddenly, without a chance to do any closure or, you know, anything, right? He was, you know, he passed away of a brain aneurysm, and that was it. That I just never got to resolve anything with him. So then I still then decided to resolve my shit, I call it, with other guys. And until I realized that the only connection that was important was the one that was within me. And that was with, you know, the book Marianne Williamson, A Return to Love. It was other books too that I you know, I journeyed through. But the message that Marianne Williamson, sorry, Marianne Williamson gave to me was so strong, and it was an enlightened moment for me. And that's when I realized that there was going to be no man ever that was going to complete me. That was where I needed to be. I didn't need a man to help me raise Erinn. You know, Erinn was 1.5 years old when I split from her dad, and consequently, I didn't even remarry till I 6. You were 16, Erinn, so it was a long time that I was, you know, on my own, and but we've been led to believe that we need to have a guy to help us, and be it if it's, you know, hanging a picture on a wall, to, you know, furniture shopping, or, you know, helping take the garbage out. No, I can do all of that. You know, I've got my own drills, I've got my own toolboxes, I've got all this stuff. And you know what I found is that owning a toolbox is such a freaking girl boss thing. Even if you don't even use it, you actually feel so good because you got a toolbox in the house and you don't need a guy with his tools. Like, I love that, you know? And I sort of surrounded myself with things that were just always the reminders that I've got this, and I didn't need anybody else. And I mean, I've done so much work, guys. So, I mean, I've even done ayahuasca. You know, you name it. We can have several conversations about this, but I believe that my commitment to my personal growth far outweighed anything else on the planet. No money, no man, no nothing. It was my commitment to personal growth that just helped me become who I am now today. And I guess I call myself a slow learner. I'm 57. I feel like now in this stage of my life that in this past 2 years, I've just gone like even through the roof, you know, even more so. And I like to feel, I liken myself to think that I could be, you know, with years to come, if I keep on being on this path, and if anybody would have me, is that I could be this elder of the village that women would come to and kids would come to learn about life. Because I think it's in that moment of vulnerability, of just surrendering to all that is, and just surrendering to a power that's greater than you, is where the answers lie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. You nailed it when you said, which I know that's your truth, but that's what I I always say to people is the very best thing you can do for your children and for anybody that loves you is to heal yourself and to start to embrace and love yourself. And so I love that you were saying, I don't need anybody outside of me. And that's a hard lesson to learn. I have spent many, many years doing the same thing, looking for validation, like who can validate me outside of myself. And oftentimes we do, you mentioned your father, and again, me too, honey, because there were so many things. I remember one time, one of my very wise mentors looked at me and she said, how is your husband like your father? And I was like, well, they're nothing alike. And she was like, just looked at me like try again, keep going. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And we really do, many times we come together with partners to help us heal from our wounds from, our childhood, and because we start as a young girl wanting that validation from our dad, specifically, and so I love that you mentioned that, because that's so powerful, so true.
And I really so believe that it's just being open to that, like what you experienced, Jen, with your work, is that someone brought it up to you that, how is your husband and your father similar? And then, but without her saying that, right? So a lot of people would say, forget it. There's no way. They would just be so opposed to it. But it's so important to be open and fluid to all the messages that come to us, because all these people are coming into our lives for a reason. There's no coincidences. There's no coincidences.
Right.
As our soul incarnate, we actually chose the mother, father, husbands. And I say husbands, you might have 1, 2, 3, 4, who knows, that they're all the teachers, your kids, all these souls, you have all decided to say, yeah, here's our soul contract, man. We're signing up for this. We are in this together. And I know this with Erinn and I. I know this with my husband. I know this with Erinn's husband. I know this with my ex-husband, Erinn's father, like all of it. My mother still drives me mental, and I'm like, what the hell is that trigger that she keeps on giving me at 57? And she's like going on 86, and she's just such a rock star. But, just little things, and they wear on you and going, okay, here's a lesson for me again. And it's coming out again, right? And sit with it again. But it's being in that open space of no judgment, because you block yourself off from the connection with that person you're meant to get that lesson from when you sit there and decide to judge them, because all you're doing is judging yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. Yeah. Soul contracts, those to me were the most profound piece of healing to me, and forgiveness, really. Once you can start to understand soul contracts, you can start to really thank those people that have shown up in your life. I remember the day I was driving down the freeway and that piece of the puzzle dropped down and settled within me. Of all of a sudden, I was really, really grateful to my ex-husband for all of it, for all of any pain or any sadness or any of the what I would have thought of, traumatic things that happened in our divorce and all of that. It was like all of a sudden that like settled in, and it was like, thank you so much for showing up and fulfilling that soul contract, because that had to have been so hard. Because when we really drop, the outfit of life and like the facade of life, all of these souls truly do love each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we just built these shells. We just built this human vessel, right? That decides to, let's bury this pain body in here and this pain body in here. And, this person, screwed me over when I was 4 years old and, stole my lunch, or whatever it is, hang on to that one, hang on to that one. Before you know it, you're seeing the world through the perception of these eyes that have all been shaped before you were like 5 years old.
Yeah.
And so, you're like, before you know it, you're 50 and you're still looking at the world as a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's where, who was so great for us, Erinn, was Joe Dispenza, right? When we spent that week with him. You can talk about that, because that was like so cool what we learned there.
Yeah, he was amazing. So yeah, if you don't know about Joe Dispenza, he's an amazing teacher and scientist, and he's been studying how you can basically co-create your future by thought alone. And it was a very inspiring week. We did a whole intensive week with him, and we were meditating for 8, 10, 12 hours a day sometimes, and it was the most powerful connection. There was about 1,500 people that were there at the conference as well. And by the end of the week, it's like we all felt like we were just floating, like this beautiful energy, and just being able to manifest and to co-create your future and where you want to be, and actually telling yourself, I have this already. I travel here every year. I do this. I have this family. I have, this successful business, and already telling yourself that to make it a reality, and getting rid of all of those, hard shells and stuff like Kelly's talking about, the hard shell that you've built up over the years. It's amazing.
Yeah. You have to, because you become, I love how he talks about how you have to break the habit of being yourself, right? Those habits that we get those stories, and they're so conditioned. And so interrupting that and breaking that habit can be really, really hard, but it's simple. It's pretty simple, but not easy. It's definitely not easy. Okay. So the longer I'm on the planet, the more I realize I have this, activist heart. I was labeled, so I'm the youngest of 9 kids. Okay. I know when I said I had 4 kids, you were both like, whoa, 4 kids. And I was like, I live in Utah, right? There's a lot of kids here. But yeah, I'm the youngest of 9 children. And I was labeled the peacemaker. And I thought, oh, that's a great label. I always loved being the peacemaker. I didn't make any waves. I was always a pleasure to be around for my parents. But the older I got, the more I realized that isn't necessarily the title that I really am. The peacemaker for me was, hey, what does this person need from me? And I'll be that. And what does this person need from me to, to keep, like, not make any waves? And I'll be that. And the older I've gotten, or the more mature I've gotten, the more I've realized that that I actually have my own opinion, and I am strong enough to speak out, and I'm not just going along with what everybody else says. What's going on here?
Kelly is laughing at me because she's like, Jen is like me and you, Jen, are so similar. Like so similar. Kelly's killing herself laughing right now because everything that's coming out of your mouth has been me growing up. And that's something that I'm really, really working on now too. I feel that so wholeheartedly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I love it.
Because Erinn has been that pleaser, and when you're that pleaser, you guys both know this now, that you have you become expendable. Your own feelings, your own emotions, your own heart, your own passion, your own connection to your soul, who you are, you wrote that off because you allowed the other people's feelings and their reactions to you and the world around you to be more important than your own heart.
Yep.
Fact.
Absolutely.
Straight up facts, for sure. Yeah.
But isn't it a beautiful day when you start to shed that, and you start to actually come in line with your power and your own strength? And that's, so for me, layer by layer, of course. And you know what? I actually think that it was, for me, it was right around age 30. I know that you just turned 31, right?
Yes.
So I'm now 44, 5. And which, Kelly, by the way, wow, girl, are you kidding? You're 50, you said 57?
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I want to see your driver's license, girl. I don't believe it.
Fake news, fake news.
1963, it was a good year.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But right around age 30, I started to like really shed these different, well, actually, no, 24 was a big part for me because I left the belief system that I was raised in. That was a big, big part for me. I left the religion I was raised in. I walked out of it, and I started really searching for my own beliefs, and instead of just kind of going along with what I was taught. And that was big, really, really big for me, having such a big family that all had, the same belief system. And so, but then as I moved closer, or went further into life, there were layers by layers that I uncovered. I ended up in the pharmaceutical world, and that's what my career was in. And it was a very eye-opening experience for me. I also stepped foot in the media as well. That's what I got my degree in. And so those two areas really prepared me for 2020 and what is unfolding. And so, but as I started really studying medication, and I was able to read what was in our pharmaceuticals, and I started really studying vaccines, and I uncovered a lot of things. And at that point, my mama within me rose up, my mama bear within me rose up, and I got a lot braver about having my own opinion with things. But right now, I want to talk about, what's going on in the world. I want to kind of shift the energy here. We'll go more into, what's happening on planet Earth. And recently on social media, I know you two have had a lot of stuff that has happened there. You're in Canada, so I want you to kind of share with us on what's happening with you guys and what your experience has been. But recently on social media, I've been a little bit more. I think I'm just over avoiding the elephant in the room, and I don't have patience. I'm not going to get on social media and fight with people. That's not what I'm doing. Because like I said, we've got these different areas that people are at. People are wanting to fight and be angry and bicker at each other. Then you've got people that are avoiding everything. And I feel like for me, I'm like, okay, no, I'm here. I'm going to speak my truth. And but I'm not going to argue with people, and I'm also not going to avoid the elephant in the room. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, ladies.
Beautiful.
Talk about this COVID pandemic thing going on in the world. But where we are, our physical location, our province of Ontario that we live in, we have about 15 million people that live in the province of Ontario. So we're the biggest province in Canada. And we just went into another full lockdown at the beginning of April. So that full lockdown being, you can't go to anybody's homes, you can't gather indoors, outdoors, restaurants, bars, retail. A lot of retail is closed except for Costco and Walmart. Those big box stores are totally cool to still stay open and pack the people in there. Our border is still closed to the States, so that border is closed. I believe a lot of our borders to international travel as well are closed. But it feels like we're literally living in the twilight zone, because we wake up here every day, and gratefully so, our business, Kelly's Bake Shop, is still open. We're open for takeout and curbside and, walk-ins and all that stuff, just no indoor seating at the time. But it feels like we're living in the twilight zone, because we hear from someone like yourself and tons of friends that we have all across the states, from New Jersey, New York, Florida, Texas, Arizona, everywhere across, that is like, yeah, no, life is pretty normal here. There's nothing really weird going on here. There's no lockdown. So to us, it's like what is happening to the province of Ontario and to Canada as a whole right now. So that's the kind of setup to what's been going on here. And just to add a little bit more, so Toronto, one of our biggest cities, our biggest city in Canada, has been under full lockdown since November. So, salons, nail salons, hair salons, gyms, all that stuff, restaurants, bars, everything have been fully closed since November. So I think what's the stat, Mom? There's about 250,000 small businesses that have closed in Canada for good now.
And
Something like that.
and 600,000 newly. Actually, this is just for 2021. This is even 2020 stats. 600,000 people that were employed are now they're just new to the unemployment line. Quebec, the province of Quebec, which is beside us, and we've got Ontario, and then Quebec is beside us. And Quebec is on a curfew still, and you are not allowed to be walking the streets after 8 p.m. So
and there's been, sorry, go ahead. So there's been
the media.
There's been massive, sorry, I'm just going to add 1 second. There's been massive actual, riots and protests in Montreal and in Quebec City as well too, with this curfew, because people are saying like, no, show me the proof, first of all, that this virus spreads, after the hours of 8 p.m. And how are you, why are you controlling the times that I can actually leave my home? People can only leave their home to go and walk their dog after 8 p.m. Like it's on another level in the province of Quebec, but Ontario is pretty crazy right now too.
Our constitution is now no longer existent. And there are some police that are being good, and there's some police that are being bad. And that's their journey. And what's ever going to happen to that, I'm just going to be honest. And how we roll is that this is crimes against humanity now, because for us to have demanded the proof, like what is the scientific proof of masking, 6 feet apart from each other, lockdowns, no weddings, no funerals, but of course Walmart can stay open, and Costco can stay open, and the Amazon distribution centers that have like a couple thousand people working in the Amazon distribution centers. So all of these very high level corporations are now having record quarters of sales, like just record. They're making billions upon billions of dollars, Jeff Bezos and the Walmart family. And so, there's a point in time where, we have to use our own common sense and take a look at what this potential cure that we're trying to do for this pandemic, and how does it outweigh the actual case itself, because the cases are so blown out of proportion, because we're using this PCR test too that is questionable. And again, we're not here to say that we're living like truth. We're just sharing what we're witnessing right now, that the PCR test is being questioned, and it's being questioned to a certain level, and then it gets to a certain level within the health offices and the health departments of the province of Ontario or the federal government, and it gets ignored. And because these are the things that we need to be able to prove, and we need the proof from these massive governing bodies that are unelected. The health officials, all of them are unelected. And to say, so if you're using the PCR test, can you give us the cycle thresholds? Because Ontario is famous for doing them around 38 to 45 cycle thresholds. And if you do this PCR test with the cycle thresholds, it circulates enough times that it's going to pick up the genome of other coronaviruses, and it's giving false positives. And so this is what's happened, is that this whole fear campaign is based on cases, not on deaths. And now we actually have to pay attention to, and this is what we're demanding the information for, is suicide rate. Let's talk about that. The suicide rate, the bankruptcies, the small businesses that will never be able to reopen again, the mental health issues of kids. We had a mayor the other day that went and closed down a skate park, tried to close down a skateboarding park for kids, and shut down the playgrounds, put the tape around the playgrounds. And these kids are going like, we have nothing left now. So the number one cause of death for children between the ages of 10 and 14 in Canada now is suicide. And that is, to me, worth fighting for. That is worth fighting for, to get the truth out of this and to shut this thing down.
Yeah. Wow.
it's beyond devastating. And I just think that, you know, like what you're saying, Mom, it's the cure can't outweigh, you know, the virus. And of course, you know, people have died, and that's not okay. Like, absolutely, one person dying is way too much. But let's do it in a way that makes sense for our country, for our world, for our economy, for everybody's mental health and physical health too. And it's just not really making sense anymore.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
You talk about the PCR test, and I have heard that even the guy that came up with the PCR test,
Carrie Mullen.
he was like, wait, why are you using this? This is not an accurate test to use for this. So there's of course so many different factors here that I want people to be saying, hey, wait, what? Or raising an eyebrow to. I definitely feel like we're being punked. And at some point, you know, it's like, at what point do we say, wait, oh, I'm paying attention here, and what is this, what's really going on here? There's so many different factors, but with, you know, when it comes to children are my soft spot. They are you know, I'm really looking at, first of all, what I do on a daily basis is I do coaching, and I coach people through the hard things in their life. I coach them when they're, you know, in a really hard spot, or sometimes when people are in a great spot and they just want to improve their life. But I have had an influx of children and men lately that have come to me over the past year. And one thing that I'm really asking myself and asking other people to think about is, you know, first of all, where's our faith? Because before all of this happened, there were people that would say, oh, I know, I believe in the divine creator. I believe that, you know, that when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I believe that we're looked after. I believe in things happening for a reason. And now all of a sudden it's like all the faith is thrown out the window, and they've just got this influx of fear coming into their home, into their awareness. And I say, turn off the freaking TV, right? And I know it's scary for adults. I know that. But if you have children, it's like, you got to get a grip. You got to get a grip, parents, because you've got these small children looking to you. I remember when I was in 6th grade, this really, really has stood out to me over this experience. And my father, he got really, really sick, and he ended up in intensive care unit at the hospital. And I remember as a 6th grader going in, and it was terrifying for me. And I had to gown up and put all this stuff on. And my dad was, you know, he could barely move. He had all of these tubes in him. And I remember looking at my mom, like, okay, how is my mom acting? Is she afraid? Because if she's afraid, I'm going to really be bugging out, right? But my mom was so calm, and she was like, it's okay, honey, dad's going to be fine. And watching her, I was like, okay, this is going to be okay. And my dad had many health issues. Well, he's still alive and making life happen. He's almost 90. But but throughout his life, throughout all of his health issues, I always looked to my mom. She was the beacon of like, do I need to bug out here? Do I need to worry? Because if so, mom will show me. And she always held this strength about her when he was having his different health issues. Like, it will always be okay. Everything's okay. And I feel like that's really what we need to do right now. All these parents are so afraid, and it's really, really affecting these children. When they did open schools back up for us right off the bat, but when I looked at what they were going to be doing, I was like, oh, hell no, we're not doing that. because they have all these plastic dividers and these masks all day. And I just couldn't bear the thought of my babies being in that all day long. And also not only from a health aspect, what that's doing as far as these kids needing to wear these all day long, but for the fear aspect, the psychological aspect for these kids. So
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's tragic. And that's, with us opening up Kelly's Bake Shop, we have such love for children, and that's been my joy and Erinn's joy too, every single day when, a kid comes in and they go, oh, I've got, celiac disease, or they got an egg allergy or a milk allergy or whatever, like we're just this all-inclusive, loving, just a love inspirational business. And it's just how we've rolled for 9 years. And now this is like fingernails on a chalkboard to me with what's happening to the kids. It's so abhorrent. It's just so wrong. And like you said earlier about getting punked, it really does feel like, okay, so are they going to jump out from behind the bushes and say, oh, just joking, like, is this what this has been all along? That like, it's been the greatest joke, if you want to call it, played on the planet, because we're all experiencing it in varying degrees of this fear campaign. But the number one, the kids are just being destroyed. And when I even have talked about it, I've actually had people troll me and attack me when I try to defend the children, and they say, my child doesn't mind going to school with a mask on. My kid is this, my kid. I said, great. If that's the case, then you do you, and I say to my little prayer for their child, in a way, because I want everyone to live their best life, whatever it means. So I'm not here to shame parents, and we're not here to shame them or anything. We're just here to alert you to the possibility that your children, when they go down this path, there will be permanent damage to their psyche and their mental well-being, to so much so, that they're going to end up maybe even harming themselves. You're gonna say something.
Yeah, you think about it, this generation of children that are in, elementary school right now and high school, they are going to be the next generation coming into this world. And this is what they are experiencing right now. So how are we setting them up right now as our generations to be the leaders of this world? Like, it's like that part of it scares me too, is like, what are these lasting effects going to be on these children that think that they shouldn't be touching each other, they shouldn't be socializing, they shouldn't be hugging, they shouldn't be, doing kid things. And that's where I am like, oh my gosh, like, think about this in 10, 15, 20 years down the road now, after all these children have been doing what they've been doing for the past 14 months. Like, that's massive. Like, that impact is going to be huge as well. So
I would like to say this, and if anybody's, listening still, wanting to hear this stuff that we're talking about, that we need to ask ourselves why.
mhm.
And this is the biggest question. And this is where, this is what got me going, is just the why question. And why would there be a global agenda to do this to the whole planet collectively with a flu virus that has a 99.998% chance of survival in it? We've never done this with Ebola, never done this with AIDS. We haven't done it with tuberculosis. We haven't done it with the flu. We haven't done it with pneumonia. We haven't operated this way. And there's more deaths from the flu every year guaranteed. So why? And we're not here to answer the question, but there's just to infuse the question into you and do the research and ask yourselves why. And is it part of the World Economic Forum? Is it, Agenda 2030? I've heard there's all these things that are coming out into my consciousness now, into my realm of things to do my own research. And this is where the answers are coming. It's bigger than COVID. And that's all I can say, is that this is not about COVID. It's about control.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't get shot for saying that.
Mm. Well, no, it's, I mean, That's a great question. It's a great question for people to be asking. I definitely feel like we need to be asking questions right now. You know, at some point when things aren't lining up and they're not making sense, you know, we've got to be strong. And on the bigger perspective of this, we all signed up to be here at this time, including the children. They knew they were coming into the planet during this massive time in the world, in history. I believe that we are definitely on one hand, it's like, oh, I'm really grateful for all of this. I'm really grateful for COVID and everything that's happened, because we are now paying attention to things on a deeper level. And I think that this was meant to be. It was meant to happen for us to get off our hamster wheel and stop ignoring everything in life and really see each other on a deeper level. But I think that we need to look past, you know, what the narrative that's being fed to us. We need to look deeper into it. So, all right.
Absolutely. Yes, I totally agree.
Okay, so Erinn, my dear, what is your message to the world? If you can say anything to people, what would you tell them right now?
Something that we always say at Kelly's Bake Shop, and more now, is just love each other. Just really, really love each other. Love people that don't believe the same things you do. Love people that do believe the same things you do, and just really be there for each other right now, because that's what we need, is more connection and more kindness in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, Kelly, my dear, what is your message to the world?
So I'm going to say that it's so important to sit with the truth of who you are and the truth of what you want the world to look like, and the power of manifestation. And as Erinn had mentioned earlier too, what we learned with Joe Dispenza is manifesting and co-creating the life that we really want to see. The more that we're staying in a fear mindset is going to keep us small, and it's going to keep our planet exactly where it is. And I know none of us want to live that way. So we have to manifest and be centered with this heart-brain coherence of love, and visualize the world that you want to be a part of. And how can you serve that dream?
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. You said that, both of you, you are such beautiful, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for being here. Can you tell people how they can find you?
Yes, for sure. So you can visit our website, kellysxo.com. You can find our bake shop online. It's at Kelly's Bake, and Kelly on Instagram is at kellychildsxo, and I am at Erinn Weatherbie, and Erinn is with 2 N's. Nice and simple.
And people can order your cookbook on your website.
They can, yes.
Yay. Awesome.
Yay.
Great. Thank you so much for shining your light, and everyone, thank you for being here with us today. And do what Erinn and Kelly said, you know, love more and manifest, see the world you want to see. Absolutely. Mwah. Love you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.